everybody behind it, everybody lined up. And now you can see everybody who gets anything from the government is in favor of getting more from the government. They now control the government. There are more people who get something from the government than who pay taxes. That's not going to change. And so you're going to see more and more demand. And besides that, these economists running the Fed, they've all built their careers, their reputations. You know, they get these Nobel Prizes, for Pete's sakes. And they get it for an idea about controlling a society and controlling its economy, which is fundamentally false. And these people are not going to back up. They're not going to say, oh, guess what, I was wrong. No, they're not going to do that at all. And so let me get to the part A. Here's what's going to happen. And this is going to start happening pretty soon because we're running out of this, you know, they're winding down this QE program, and as they wind it down, they're going to find stocks begin to fall. We're already seeing that. And when we get some bad indicators, like a stock market falls off 1,000 points, or we could come up with a bad reading of revised figures for GDP. You know, who knows? Or it could be a geopolitical thing, you know, like a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Who knows? But something will happen. Stocks will fall. The economy all of a sudden will look rotten. And what will Janet Yellen and company do? They won't have any choice about it. All their training, all their experience, everything they believe will tell them, well, they've just got to go back and do more of what they were doing before. That means more money printing. They're probably more direct money printing, probably more direct financing of federal government expenses, and probably putting more liquidity directly into the system. And for a while, that could have results once again, that look favorable. And we could see a big boost in the stock market. We could see headlines saying, well, they saved the world again. And then we're off to the races again with another big run-up, another big bubble blowing up. But fundamentally, you can't build success by printing money. If you could, why, Zimbabwe would be the richest country on earth. They printed zillions of it. But you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. You got to save money. You got to invest. It's a long, hard process. That's how you get real prosperity.
Well, look at most third world countries. Many of them were prosperous previously until they went through the money printing hyperinflation situation, and then they never come back from it. That's what's so scary, is that the governments actually use the crisis to get full control and then never let the society come out of it. And that's my point, Bill Bonner.
I think that's another. I haven't even gotten into that, but just on the money side of it, when the money starts, Janet Yellen prints more money, things look good. Then they start to look bad because it fundamentally doesn't work. And then they print more money. And now pretty soon they cannot stop this. And they interviewed the guy, his name was Gideon Gono, who ran the Bank of Zimbabwe. And they said, well, why did you do that? That was crazy. And he explained how at every step of the way he didn't have a choice. You know, he had bankers, industrialists, had the president of the country all coming in and saying, we need more money because people are running out of it. Babies are crying. And, who knows? But that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, it's the same thing with the open border and giving free welfare to tens of millions of people pouring in. They go, it's children. Love them. There are children. And I go, wait a minute. They can't take care of them in Guatemala or in Zimbabwe. How am I supposed to take care of them when we're already on paper bankrupt? And they go, you just don't like children. And I go, okay, well, Zimbabwe will take my kids then? I mean, it's crazy how it's all just emotional garbage, and that's supposed to trump cold, hard, economic, 100% scientific fact, incontrovertible. And then here's the worst part, Bill, and I want your take on this. It's all over the news year to year. All the top billionaires have left Israel. Top billionaires are leaving the U.S., buying armored redoubts in the Cook Islands and the middle of nowhere in Australia and New Zealand and the Caribbean. Governments are digging in, saying they see total collapse by 2020 and martial law worldwide and war on the streets, and the Army's training for, zombie apocalypse, using zombie cover for mowing down crowds of people. I mean, governments digging in. They admit they know this is coming. And, I mean, I'm literally saying, what do I need to do?
Well, I mean, what you need to do, I think, is the same thing that Gary North recommended 14 years ago. He said, look, when these complicated, sophisticated systems break down, you need to be in a place and you need to have the stuff that you need to survive without them. And his idea then, which is still a good idea, is he said, look, to save your money, buy a farm in the Ozarks. you got to be somewhere where you're not dependent upon the shelves of the local 7-Eleven, because there are going to be a lot of people going after those shelves. you got to make sure you have some shelves of your own, and they got to be somewhere where everybody else isn't going to get to them. Now I know that sounds apocalyptic, and some of my neighbors think, gee, that's kind of nutty and crazy, but I don't think it is at all.
Hey. You're not nutty at all, Bill.
When the crisis comes, you need to have some security. And security means you have to have the things that the complicated systems can't provide. And they won't be able to provide necessarily food, water, or money. And so you need to have real money, gold and silver coins. You need to have real food, either in form of a garden, something you produce, cows on the hoof, whatever you need, or in storage. And you need to have a source of water that you can depend on. Those are really the basics.
Bill, stay there. We got to go to break. Bill Bonner's our guest. The new book coming out, it's a mushroom cloud with a clown, forming a clown. Armageddon, how too much of a good thing leads to disaster. Bill Bonner. But what he's saying is absolutely on target about being prepared, ladies and gentlemen. And again, government is doing it. If there was a 10% chance that this was going to happen, we should all be prepared. It's like 95. I mean, the only question is, how bad is it going to be? When's it going to happen? Say, I want to get Bill Bonner on. I want the author of this book on. I read his newsletter. Or I'll say, the Ebola outbreak is a great example of what could happen during a crisis. Let's get the expert on it, who's the best-selling author of The Secure Home, Strategic Relocation, Joel Skousen. He's on with us in the next hour. We'll open the phones up for him in the second half for your questions on this live Thursday edition. But I didn't even mean to have the two guys together today. That's just how the producers did it, and it works out perfectly because I'm not gloom and doom. I'm somebody that wants to be successful even in a global crisis. I want to stop the global crisis, but if I can't stop the global crisis, I'm going to be positioned to be more successful. And that's what Bill writes about, and he's got a great track record in his newsletter and his books, is, hey, decry the bad stuff that's happening, try to change it. If you can't change all of it or part of it, ways to profit from it morally. Still being moral. Ways to protect yourself. And you can get his book at getbillsbook1.com, and you can get a discount on it out of the gates, basically. You can find out more at getbillsbook1.com. Again, I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to go back to him for some final comments here in a moment, maybe even do 5 more minutes into the next hour before our next guest gets on so we can finish up. But this hour is brought to you by Infidel Body Armor, InfidelBodyArmor.com. Again, Infidel Body Armor is owned by a U.S. Air Force veteran outside Dallas. It's where they manufacture it. We've been promoting it for 3 years. It is a bestseller. Police and military are buying it. It's better than the chromatic, ceramic type stuff, and it takes more bullets. Check it out, InfidelBodyArmor.com or 888-608-6605. They got some great videos and more there. All sizes, a lot of molly pouches, a lot of other really great tack gear produced by combat veterans. So InfidelBodyArmor.com. Let's go back to our guest here, Bill Bonner. Bill, finishing up in the minutes we've got on points you haven't gotten to.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I wanted to point out is that there are times to make money and there are times not to lose it. And when you get into a real crisis, and a real crisis is a time when the winner is the one who loses least. And if the crisis is the kind of crisis that I think is coming, then losing least is going to mean you're just kind of holding on to what you've got as best as you can. And that probably means making sure your family is safe and sound during the crisis. So I think the number one thing is start there. And for everybody, you know, should have a plan B and a place to go and things to eat and water to drink. And then you can start thinking about your financial situation. And what I'm doing is very simple. I want things that are solid. I don't trust, you know, these latest technological stocks and things. I don't know them, and I'm sure people make a lot of money on them. It's good for them. But as far as preserving my family's wealth and making money, I'm going to stick to things that really seem solid to me. And what seems solid to me right now is some real estate. Real estate, the apartment buildings still seem pretty good, apartment deals. There are some stocks, mostly outside of the U.S., which are still good buys. And they're not too much more. I mean, things, when you get a real bubble, and you get a real bubble when you get a lot of credit and excess credit in the society, everything gets out of price.
And that's what the elites are doing. They're buying farms, they're buying redoubts, they're buying real estate, they're buying gold and silver, and they're getting bodyguards, and they're buying guns.
Yes, I think that's about right. And you can hope that I don't know, that's really a good hope, but you can think that the thing will go on a lot longer and you can take advantage of it. For all I know, the U.S. stock market could go up another 20%, maybe 50%. They get pumped.
Sir, I know you got to go, but can you do 5 more minutes with us?
Yeah, pardon me?
Can you do 5 more minutes with us?
Sure.
Okay, 1 minute break. Coming back, I want you to be able to finish up. That's so important, folks. This is so real. And I get mad at myself. I haven't gotten ready like I should. I mean, we're just putting it off, and all the signs are there.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. It took me 20 years of searching the globe to find the deposit of the highest purity iodine available. The new Survival Shield X2 is mined from 7,000 to 10,000 feet below the earth in pristine, environmentally clean conditions. The iodine crystals we use are extracted from an ancient 300 million plus year old deposit deep in the earth. It's the strongest nascent iodine on the market today. It delivers 650 micrograms per drop. Experience the new formula. Experience the ancient purity. Shield your family. Survival Shield X2. Available now at InfoWarsLife.com.
X2 from InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.